Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. 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 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo 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 Myoho Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo 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 Myoho Renge Kyo. Horenge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge 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 Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo 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 Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo myoho renge ko, 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 namo myoho renge ko. Namo myoho renge ko, 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 namo myoho renge ko. Namo myoho renge ko, 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 namo myoho renge ko. Namo myoho renge ko, 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 namo myoho renge ko. Namo myoho renge ko, 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 namo myoho renge renge ko, namo myoho 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 renge ko. Myoho renge ko, namo 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 myoho renge ko. Namo myoho renge ko, 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 namo myoho renge ko. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Myoho renge kyo, namo 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 myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo myoho renge kyo. Myoho renge kyo, namo 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 myoho renge kyo. Namo myoho renge kyo, 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 namo Myoho Renge Kyo 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 Renge Kyo Namo Myoho 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 Renge Kyo Nam Myoho Renge Kyo Myoho Renge Kyo Ho Ben Pondai Nini Jesus Anju Samai Anjo Niki Go Shari Hachi Chofu Chie Jin Jin Murio Go Chie Man Nange Nanyu Isai Shoman Chisho Ishaga Butsu Shingan Yakasama Nakamushu Sho Butsu Shingo Cho Butsu Murio Doho Yim Yo Cho Jim Yo Cho Fu Man Jo Ju Jin Jin Mizo Uho Suigi So Satsui Shun Nange Shari Hachi Go Jujo Butsu Irai Going Gongyo Mushu Ho Ben Indo Jujo Rodi Jo Dekajo Ishaga Nyorai Ho Ben Chiken Haramitsukai Igu Shokashari Nyorai Chiken Kodai Dinya Murio Muge Deki Musho Isen Joge Da Samai Jinyu Musai Shariotsu Nyorai no Shuju Fum Betsugo Se Shoho Ganji Nunane Gashu Shin Shariotsu Shuyo Ganchi Murio Muhen Mizo Uho Busu Doju Ishaga Busho Joju Dai Chikeu Nange Shiho Yui Butsu Yo Butsu Nai no Kujin Shoho Jizo Sho We Shoho Nyo Ze So No Ze Sho No Ze Ta No Ze Riki No Ze Sa No Ze In No Ze En No Ze Ka On Ma Gugyo Do Sho We Shoho Nyo Ze So No Ze Sho No Ze Ta No Ze Riki No Ze Sa No Ze In No Ze En No Ze Ka No Ze Hon No Ze Hon Ma Gugyo Do Sho We Shoho Nyoze, Riki Nyoze, San Nyoze, In Nyoze, En Nyoze, Ka Nyoze, Hon Nyoze, Hon Ma Kugyo To Myoho Renge Kyo No Raiju Yohan Daiju Raga Niji Butsuko Shobo Satsuku Isai Daishu Shosen Nanchi Nyo Toto Shinge Nyo Raijo Daishi Go 如来上大士go無部go小大衆尿道道神芸如来上大士go世持菩薩大衆弥勒一衆が小仏仏願世尊如意願世死がとうとう真珠仏語尿世三百一部願如意願世死がとうとう真珠仏語諸福死二号死願尿道大乗如来秘密天中死力一切世間天人具は修羅海根着胸仏中着地空空海や上不安座王道上徳はのくたら三百三宝大年前難地約三万のくない歌子頻尿後約三万のくない歌遊ぎ三千大先生か慶子ウニ町未人かおとぼ後約三万のくない歌遊ぎ国大芸一人尿税東京大い運河税小生家が特使有強慶地語中風味らが菩薩特バカ仏願世尊税小生会批焼き非心力小牛一切小門焼き地仏意無老地風の地有一語現中が途中あゆよ地地大勢地中弱小不打世尊無量無辺に自仏語大菩薩修造千難地根頭風妙千語尿頭世小世界若着未人具風着茶人に一品不可惜し約千万のくない歌遊ぎこち中世来が上祭しサバ世界世法狂気約法要所約千万のくない歌遊ぎ国道理中上やさす年度武道武願合入お内反陽世界方便分別小戦難地約宇宙将来死が生涯仏言看護師のちょいが年期大小約部言高度の无意中中方便説明妙法能量中情報歓喜新朝鮮南陳如来県庁中上後お消防小衆系特はのくたら三百三宝来年が実動物以来空安約し谷方便強系中上老入仏道三陽性節朝鮮南陳如来小円教伝会道だ中上若事更新若事他人若事更新若事他人小長元節開始復興小位者が如来如実知見三界思想無長知脈体脈直約無在世牛滅動作非実非公非尿非異不尿三界見の三界尿死死人如来妙見無釈妙集中約集中行集中悪道分別後欲老少少前がににゃかに年冬元時集中説法少佐仏地味噌三杯尿性が成仏以来近代空安寿命無料が本業菩薩道創造寿命勧誘未人部売上周年間非実滅の二弁長願当周滅の如来異勢法弁強系修正超意者が若部空中王世宣願弁具下戦頓高語約入おことも剣も中若剣如来上大不別弁気教師に遠大風の小南蔵思想苦行し新世公如来異法弁設備空等地小部数世南下地具小位者が約三万の子若有権バト若風権者意志事故がさせがんと小備空如来南下東権地修小と門尿税後人小連邦活合応仏弁通戦願税公如来水風実滅二願滅造無線難地小仏如来崩壊尿税移動中上開実不幸非如老一へ到達五人多少子即なく十二十内地約中異有自縁恩賜予告諸子後ただかやくやくほつもんらんえんでぬじせじごぶげんらいきけ Wakafushi shayo kengobu kaidai kangi haiki monsin zen nan nonki gato guchi go bokotoko yaka genken kuyo kyochi jumyo buken shito non yose e shokyobo kai setsugu sokanjo shiwago yoshiro bukunisa zegan chirairo yakashiki go mimi kai setsugu sokanoto ka bokoshokojoku no Fushi shinja kenshiro yakashiki gogu ko sakaben bakashi byojinjo yoyoshi shinja kengo burai suya kangi monjingu jagiri Nenyogo yakani fuko bakasho wishaga doge jinyu shippan shinko oshiko shikiko yakani ifumi busazen en chichi kamin idokotochu Gushakuryo nyoze ko yakani fuko bokuga konto zeta hoben ro bukushi yakasokazaze ganyo to tochi ga konsuiro chichi ishi ze koro yakakondru zaichi Saze kyo ibushi ta koku kenshi gengo nyobu ishi sezi shoshi Mombu hai so shindai uno ni sazen en yakabusha sha jiminga to no kenku go konja shaga Mubuji go jo e kenshin shu shogo nai chi chi yakashiki go mimi sakashu bukashi dakabyo kayo ga bu manchi shichi takasai jinben raiki genshi kenshi zoden nanchi Seshiro iko mozai fu hocha se sanbutsu ganga yakanyo ze jo butsu irai murya muhen yakuzemma nakana yuta asogi ko ishu joko iho benriki gonto metro yakamu unyo nyo ho setsuga Niji se sanjo Yokuju sen shiki ni setsuge ganji ga tokaburai shoko shoko shumuryo hakuzemma nakusai asogi Mushu akushu shoranyu obutaro nirai muyo ko ido chujo ko ho bengen ne han ni jitafu metodo joju si seppo ga joju ochi icho jindu rikido tento shuzo Shuken ga metodo koku yo shari genga eirenmo ni sho ketsugo shin chujo kichin bukachichiki inu nani shin yo ken butafuji jakijim yo jiga gusu so Gaji go chuzo jozai jifu metsu iho benri ko genu metafu metio goku chujo kugyo shingyo shagabu ohi chu isezumu joho nyoto manchi Gagenjo chuzo mutsuzayo kukai kofu igen shinro go shoketsugo ingo shinrenbo naishitsu iseppo jinzu rikinyoze o asogi ko jozai ro juzen Shujo kenko jindai ga shoujo ji ga shido anon tenin joju manon rin shoto kakujuju ho chogan hoju da ke ga chujo choyu rakujo tengaku tenku Manara ke sambajaku dai shuga jodo fuki ni shugen jojin ufu toku no nyo se setsuju manze shosai shujo iakugo inen ka asogi ko Shugu dokanyu wa shichijiki sa so kai kenga shinzai shini seppo wakaji ichi shu setsubutu muryo kunai kenbusha I setsubutu nanchi gachi rikinyoze Shumyamu shukoku shugo sho dokanyo to uchi sha moto chi chogi toranyo yojin butsugo jippu ko nyo wizen ho beni ji yoshiko Muno se komo gayaka se buku choku genchai bambu tendo jitsuzai ni ga metsu ijo kengago ni shokyo shishin ho itzutaka go yokuta o akadochu Fugyo do juyo chokado ise shuju ho mai si sa zenen nigaryo shujo Tokanyu mujodo sokajo jubushin namu Namyoho renge kyo nam Myoho Renge Kyo Namu Myoho Renge Kyo Namo Myoho Renge Kyo Namo Myoho Renge Kyo Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo Namu Myoho Renge Kyo Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo Namu Myoho Renge Kyo Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho. Thank you very much. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, 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 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam. All right, hello everyone. Thanks for being here. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. I hope you're healthy and safe, at least that. Lankavatara. So many things to talk about. You know, I think there's something the Lankavatara hits really hard. And it's very much relatable to our Lotus Sutra practice because of the 5 meditations that we do in Gongyo, by far the one meditation that I get most questions about is the second. Several aspects of it. I mean, there's a lot going on. Time without beginning, Buddha of absolute freedom, self-manifestation, what the hell is that? Lots of questions regarding the second meditation. And rather than just read out of the Lankavatara, I'll do some of that, but there's an overall concept. And this translation by Daisetsu Taitaro Suzuki, even in the forward, translated from Sanskrit, Alex Wayman, how was he involved in this? He edited. So Alex edited this. I'm just going to read you his foreword. It is indeed a pleasure to have this famous translation of a work of incomparable content of matters important for Mahayana Buddhism appear in the Buddhist tradition series. I have reservations about the translation of certain terms of this work, but I have no reservations about the importance of making this translation available to interested readers. Just so you know that I'm not the only one calling out translation bias, here it is in print by an academician I have reservations about the translation of certain terms of this work. So, there's a lot of, oh, lords and blessed one and all of that, and that has nothing to do in Buddhism. This is obviously, even though this is decidedly not a European name, Daisetsu Taitaro Suzuki, this is a Christian translating this Sanskrit from Sanskrit. So he has brought along all of his mental pollutions to this writing. That said, there's a concerted effort here to try to understand the Sanskrit and translate it into English. So thank you. Thank you for making the effort. But to you and I, students of Nichiren's doctrine and the Lotus Sutra practice method of enlightenment, we can look at this early work and we can see the confusion. Now, I picked the Lankavatara as one of the discourses here because the Lankavatara is often credited as a seminal text of Chan or Zen Buddhism. And one can understand why. And so right off the bat, that's what I want to hit the ground running with. And I changed my mind. I am going to read just a paragraph and a half or so, just so that can launch me into what I am wanting to talk about. Remember the second meditation. In fact, I'll do better. We just did it. We just did it in Gongyo. But just to remind you, I solemnly praise the true law of self-manifestation, Myoho Renge Kyo. What's the true law of self-manifestation? Myoho Renge Kyo. How is it the law of self-manifestation? Is what people stumble on. The core of the Juryo chapter of Honmon, the supreme law hidden in the depths of the Lotus Sutra. Is it really hidden? It's hidden in the depths of the Lotus Sutra because the Lotus Sutra doesn't go into a tremendous amount of detail about it. It assumes you've already studied these previous teachings of perfection of mind, of the Lankavatara, of many others, as we'll see. The inscrutable essence of the universe, really the nitty-gritty. That's what Buddhism is talking about here. Only to get you to understand. The perfect fusion of Tai Chi and Chi, the entity of time without beginning. Volition, will, forward motion, momentum, Tai Chi, and Chi, the energy with that momentum. Karma. Tai Chi and Chi are karma. The entity of the Buddha of absolute freedom. I've already talked about that. And now you're going to understand, I hope, why that state of mind is absolutely free, unattached. Buddha of absolute freedom isn't a person or a place. It's you. It's your mind. The eternal manifestation of the 10 worlds, the embodiment of Ichin and Sanzen, the oneness as person in the law, they're all saying the same thing in another way. The manifestation of all phenomena as both a reflection and a result of my own making in this universe, impermanent and having no self-nature. I'm going to hit that hard today. So, in fact, I'll probably put the second meditation in the title of this, just so you can refer to it in the future. So here's from chapter 3 of the Lankavatara. So Mahamati is a well-practiced, educated bodhisattva. He's a bodhisattva mahasattva, what a designation they give to an evolved bodhisattva, not a beginner. And he asks this of Shakyamuni. Impermanence. Impermanence. This is the discrimination of the philosophers Tathagata, Bhagavan, and you too declare in the canonical text that all composite things are impermanent. To be subject to birth and destruction is the nature of things. But, Bhagavan, is this right or wrong? And how many kinds of impermanence are there? Do you see how this is directly related? Shakyamuni says, there are 8 kinds of impermanency as discriminated by the philosophers. Not me, the philosophers, the intellectuals, the Shravakas, the non-Buddhists, the Brahmins, the blah, 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 all these philosophers, including us when we're intellectualizing, we're philosophers. So understand, this is a broad term. But not by me. What are the 8 kinds? Well, does it really matter? If it's not what Buddha is talking about, I don't care what all the other ones are saying. But maybe there's some interesting comparison there that we can use. So undoubtedly, this is why he lists them. Some say that there is origination and then cessation. This is impermanency. That is to say, in the beginning there is something born which ceases to exist. This is impermanency. I hear this all the time as a statement of fact by Buddhists. And if you didn't catch it, Shakyamuni's calling that out as an error. That is to say, in the beginning there is something born and ceases to exist. This is impermanency. Some explain impermanency as the changing of shape. Some say form itself is impermanent. Some regard impermanency to consist in the changing of form, rupa, saying that in a continuous, uninterrupted existence of all things, there takes place a change in their natural flavor. For instance, milk going through a transformation turns into sour milk, and that such an invisible decomposition happens to all things. Right? This sounds familiar. We use this rhetoric all the time. This is called impermanency. Right? We say things are always in flux. Things are always in flux. Some imagine that there is an objective existence, bhava, which is called impermanency. So impermanency is thingified as an existing thing. Some imagine that existence and non-existence, this is impermanency. I've already talked about the idea of a negation of something is an adherence and an instantiation of the very thing that you claim doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist, then why are we talking about it not existing? It has to exist in order to not exist. You see the conundrum? Some say that not being born is impermanency. If it doesn't exist, then it's impermanent. Oh, that's an odd one. Because of all things being impermanent, and because of impermanency being inherent in them. Oh, okay. Now, by impermanency that exists in existence and non-existence is meant that things made of the elements, this is Shakyamuni talking now, are by nature subject to destruction and have nothing in them one can take hold of, while the elements themselves are never set in motion. All right. This is where the confusion begins. By impermanency that is no birth is meant that there is neither permanency nor impermanency, that in all things there is no dualistic evolution of being and not being, and that nothing is seen to exist even when they are examined into the last atom. 3,000 years ago, Buddha is talking about atoms. This not seeing of anything is another name for no birth and not for birth. I'm going to stop right there because that hits right on the example I have floating in my head. If you're standing in a room with a large picture window and you're looking out the window and you see trees, mountains, animals, right? An easy picture in your mind. Okay, hold on to that picture. And then you walk outside on the other side of that picture window and you're buffeted to the side, your clothes are flying around, dust flies around your feet. It's windy. And you go, oh, wind. And then you go back inside the room and you look out that same window again. Did the wind disappear? Did it stop being windy? Did the wind only exist when you went outside the window? This is the nature of the question that Shakyamuni is constantly approaching. Now, pay close attention to what I'm going to say, and I'm going to pay close attention too, because putting this into words, as you can tell, is no easy matter. You probably remember a science teacher at some point in your education telling you about atoms and that the space between the proton, neutron, the nucleus of an atom and an electron is like a ping pong ball in the football stadium being in size-wise in relation to a pinpoint on the other side of the nation or the continent. Trying to get you to understand that even in an atom, which everything, all matter is created of, there are much, much more space than there are things, matter. And in our young minds, that makes everything seem like, well, this table then, why can't I put my fingers through it? Because it's 99% nothing. It's vacuum. It's space. So are my fingers. We don't experience these things that way. And there's lots of reasons, electromagnetism, the movement of molecules, and on and on and on and on. But this is exactly what Shakyamuni is trying to identify. What the Lankavatara says over and over and over again, and what the Zen and the Chan practitioner seize upon, is that over and over again, I wish Shakyamuni says he uses a term in here a lot called mind only. And he even goes to the point of everything you say exists. Materialism, here it is again, Brahma, materialism, that everything exists, quote unquote, in mind only. And so from that you get a lot of the cliches about Buddhism, that everything in the world is an illusion, that nothing is real, that everything is a dream. And it's easy to do that because the English translations use those words.
Shakyamuni talking about it. It's a mind-only perception. But what he's trying to explain, trying to get across to people in sutra after sutra, and in the Lankavatara, he really, really pounds at it, is that the wind exists to us, human minds, as a rupa, a name that we assign, a label to an experience. And that experience, because we put a label on it, becomes a thing. The actual process of thingifying that we talked about from the Diamond Sutra, here it is again, in a more distinct form. What Shakyamuni is pointing to, back to the wind analogy, it's not that the wind isn't something real or that you experienced, but if you understood in your mind that the habit of calling air movement, climate, whatever is causing that air disturbance as a thing is the pitfall, is the construct of samsara and suffering. It's ego. It's wanting to discern, distinguish, discriminate, and create things. Do you understand? If you can start to understand that the wind is not itself a wind. You can't bottle wind. You can't put it in a box. It's an experience, right? It makes sense for wind. Yeah, I know it's air, it's change of temperatures, it's all sorts of conditions and tendencies. Remember those words? But the wind, that's an experience. It's not a thing, but we make it a thing. And we construct other things from that thing, like hurricanes, like weather, like the Three Little Pigs story. We like that thing we call wind. But are you getting, do you understand? Wind, you could say, isn't real because wind doesn't consist of other things, elements called wind, or call them something else, but they don't. Wind isn't made of wind particles. It's not that hard to understand the wind analogy, but now what Shakyamuni is saying is those mountains you see, the trees in front of you, the animals, they're like the wind also. Yeah, that gets harder. And this is where I always get back to the, he talks about elements. What are elements? When we talk about mass, oh God, here it goes with the science again. Mass, little m, mass, is a description of the interplay and types and quantifications of energy contained in something. It's wind. Mass is a description of the variations of energy in a moment. That's what mass is. And that mass is what then becomes differentiated into atoms, molecules, fat, shoes, trees, so on. all of it is energy manifest in a particular form that we give a name to, namarupa. But that's a conditional experience, and we only experience that conditional experience with our minds. It's mind-only reality. That's not to deny the existence of a tree or the wind. It's simply a paradigm shift in the point of view, how you perceive the world. For Shakyamuni, this was key for us to begin to understand how it is possible that in this world of realities, we can perceive things differently. It is in the act of identification that we attach our own life experience, our life itself, our me, ego idea in samsara. This is where our suffering comes from. If we could but shift our perspective just to the wind, let there be wind, but understand that wind is a construct that we experience. It doesn't say anything about the quality of our life, the quality of humanness, of compassion, of life. Because life isn't you, me, the tree, the animals, the mountains. It's the universe. And we're just experiencing these aspects of energy at play. Can we do that? Can we take our minds of attachment to things, names, reality, that without realizing we are making ourselves up along with it as a permanent thing, me, ego, mine? If we can shift our minds just a little bit to understand that all of that is just, it's not permanent. It's impermanent. In other words, it does not reflect on our being, to be. That being needs to be perceived as an experience, not thingified. This is the whole struggle, trying to pull this apart. He's not trying to say that it's all a dream, an illusion, a delusion, a mess. He's not trying to say empirically that's what this life is, because that's where nihilism comes from, right? Got to get rid of all of it. On the other hand, what we tend to do in samsara by making things permanent is to envision them with time without end, eternal. Both of those visions are extremes of delusion. That if you perceive things like they really are, like all things are parts of process, energy in process, doing stuff, what a relief. What a relief. The manifestation of all phenomena as both a reflection and result of my own making in this universe. No, you don't make reality with your mind, literally. You make your own reality with your mind of stuff that's just process. It's not stuff. It's forms of energy amalgamated in various ways, various forms, in processes that are in time. Without mass, there is no time. Mass creates space. Space, by its, it should be one word, space-time. Because if there's space, there's distance. If there's distance, that implies time. Space-time, it's an uncomfortable marriage of words. And in this uncomfortable marriage of words, we become conscious. And we start to label things. Oh, look, space, time, mass, energy. What is that? Energy? Ooh, magic word, energy. Everything down to the most minute particle is both a thing and a wave, right? You hear that all the time. Oh, it behaves like a particle and a wave. A photon has no mass. But, yes, it does. It has technically, it has a mass because it has energy. And anything with energy is a state, a vibration, a wave, has, by the definition of energy, mass. It's samsara. Samsara is amazing, but see it for what it is. Because you too are samsara. You, I, ego, is this... Can you dissect the body in any sorts of way to find the I, the ego, the me, the ownership? It's like the wind. It's a condition. It's an experienced thing. Is it starting to... See, could you imagine shifting your mind to understand this process from that place all the time? This is what we do when we chant the Daimoku to this mandala to awaken our Gohonzon, is we become unattached from all the things. Ironic that we have to use a thing to get to it. All the more reason why that's not a representational drawing. All the more reason why we need to understand that we're not praying to or worshiping a thing. It's not the scroll. It's not even the ink. It's the conceptual ideas contained in the characters of several languages, all the way. It's kind of this sifting mechanism to get you away from thingifying. Almost stopped recording. I get lost in myself. Okay. That may not have sounded like, well, now I don't like the Lankavatara, but it points to a critical point of the Dharma, of the teaching of Shakyamuni. It's critical because thousands of teachers and leaders and tens of thousands of followers, hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions, have taken the idea in the Lankavatara and turned it into the void. And that emptiness and disconnection and the void is equal, tantamount to enlightenment. And it's so not. It's so not. Enlightenment is now in this living space that is decidedly not void, filled by our samsaric mind. The point Buddha constantly tries to make is Yeah, all of this is energy in various forms. Not denying that. Yeah, you can call that a tree. You can call that a shrub. You can call it whatever you want. It's not the identification of it that's important. It's the experience of it that where life exists. It's the experience of it that's free of stress, anxiety, suffering. It's your penchant for distinguishing it and making it a thing that starts you worrying, stressing. How do you explain that outside of the word attachment? It's a mental attachment. It's not crazy glue, right? It's crazy glue of the idea. The mind perceives this ownership. So don't obliterate the mind. Don't stop thinking. That's not the answer. Clear the mind. Allow that mind to be free of all that identification and attachment, and watch what the mind sees, experiences. There's your path. That's your Gohanzan to Buddha-ness, right? See the trees as tree-ness, mountain-ness, earth-ness, people-ness. Don't make them because the moment you identify it, that's a form of possession. It's a point of ownership. I know what that is. It's tree. See? I know. Why not? Wow. Look at treeness. Look at how it multiplies and experiencing tree, bark, insects, leaves. Become an observer. That's not a denial of everything in samsara. It's a perceptive shift of everything in samsara. Here for your enjoyment. No stress. Right? Okay. I hope that made some sense. I hope that helps you in your practice. I hope that you can see that, yes, you have lots of responsibilities and things to do in this life. But ultimately, they're all a form of entertainment, really. How much of it do you... Okay. If I ask the question, what do you need or what do you have to do, you'll have a list. But you have to understand that that list was constructed of previously constructed constraints and attachments that you yourself have made. And that's the point here. All of this is constructed by ourselves. Our minds are the constructors. So everything is still there. Just deconstruct it a bit. You're making it too important. The important thing is the experience, not the thing. All right. First video of 2022. I don't know what that's going to impend, or what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what harbinger it is of future videos. I guess we'll see. Welcome to 2022, by the way. And give me your thoughts. If you have questions about the Lankavatara? Or questions about what you think maybe I said? Well, let's leave it at that. I'm incredibly gratified and thankful for your participation. The audio podcasts, like, subscribe, share. You can support this channel anyway. PayPal.me/SifuSylvain, or any of the links you see on this video. Patreon, of course. All of you guys, amazing. Keep up your practice. Take care of your health. Be kind. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.